Hey up YouTube, I'm Eric, thanks for clicking on the video. Today we have something a little bit different. We're going to be going through Luna's Why Not music video and picking out what I found through the various times I watched the music video and connected to the Lunaverse. So, let's begin. Here of course we have Olivia Hye being circled by a card doing donuts. Now the donuts that the card is doing is supposed to reference the moon. We know this because there is a flash later on of a picture of the moon. Here we have Cherry in the Odd Eye realm where she is surrounded by neon flames. This signifies that the events from So What continues on in this music video. Of course we have Kim Lip here. She is surrounded by 3 moons, which we have to assume that this is referring to the 3 realms in the Lunaverse: Eden, Odd Eye Realm, and Earth. Take note that there is a storm happening behind Heejin here. We of course have a meteor here crashing next to Heejin. This refers to So What music video, where pieces of the moon are falling from the sky. Here we have Jinsol. I think this is to symbolize calling all Lunas around the world. That's just my theory here. Let's pump it up! Now I think this scene is also important because in the events of So What, we had the world basically ending, and what happens when there is like an apocalyptic event is that people go crazy, start raiding and looting stores, basically getting as many supplies as they can to survive. So we saw something like this happen with the pandemic early in the year with the limited supply of toilet paper and what have you, but that also applies here. Here we have Vivi sitting in a car. You should remember this. Of course, here we have Yeojin in the supermarket, going back to the idea of people raiding stores if there was an apocalyptic event. The scene with Toojin is pretty interesting. I believe the idea here is that since we have the black and white outfits, it's supposed to be like Heejin is almost like a shadow to Hyunjin. Of course, we have Olivia Hye here, surrounded by not the members. Keep this in mind. We also see the same wolf from Olivia Hye's Equus music video, momentary flash on the screen. Now we have Jinsol here. Of course, behind her is a sign that says "with all Lunas around the world." Something you can easily miss if you're not paying attention, but yeah. And just like that, we see her flash her blue odd eye. Now we have Eve here in this alleyway, and the car she's sitting in is the same car that Vivi was in earlier. The thing about this set though is that it's actually used in one of Luna's music videos before. Odd Eye Circle Sweet Crazy Love was actually shot in this exact same place. You can tell this is the same place because of the sign in the background. It has the exact same lettering in the exact same place. Now what people would think here is that that would be the sun. I would disagree and say that this is actually the moon. We saw in So What that the moon kind of imploded. So this would have to be the moon in this part in the Lunaverse. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Let's pump it up. Yeah.
Now the members here are surrounded by moons. I would think there would be 12 here, but I've only counted 8.
어딜 보니 나만 따라와
In this shot though, we have members running around a fire pit on the moon. You can tell this is actually a reverse shot because of how awkwardly the members are running around, and also the fire is being sucked inward rather than blowing outward. Of course, here we have Yeojin here that was just left on Earth. Now here we have Kimlip ascending to what I think charging her powers. Now this scene is where I wanted to pause because this is of course a reference to Olivia Hayes' Egoist, where she also has these crazy red beaming eyes, but now her followers here also have it. Of course, we're now back in the streets where Eve used to be with apples everywhere. Apples, of course, being Eve's represented fruit. My theory here is that this is where Eve goes to find Cherry to give her an apple to give to Go On in her one and only music video. If you don't know, there's actually an unreleased clip of Eve finding Cherry and giving her an apple. This relates to here because, as we know, this is where Sweet Crazy Love was shot, and Cherry was also here, so it would only make sense that that would be the reason why Eve is here. It was also said during one of Luna's interviews that Vivi is actually looking for Eve here. We know that Vivi and Eve are linked in Lunaverse because Vivi appears in Eve's new music video, and how Eve is Vivi's Luna 1/3 in reverse order. It's like how Heejin meets Olivia Hay in the end of Egoist, Hyunjin in cat form meets Go On in an unreleased video, and how Hasa meets Chu at the end of the Heart Attack music video. We have Kimlip here continuing to gain power, now taking place in the Odd-Eye Realm. We now know this is the Odd-Eye Realm because of all the purple grass everywhere, like we see in the Love Cherry Motion music video. We now see here that there are exactly 12 moons here spinning in the Odd-Eye Realm. Now we have Go On here above Earth, where there's a hurricane taking place here. Now in their song Butterfly, Cherry and Go On reference a hurricane with the line, "It starts with a single flap, now inside my heart, a hurricane." What I think here is that 12 moons spinning in the Odd-Eye Realm are causing this hurricane, which is the storm we saw at the beginning of the music video. This of course is a reference to the first step on the moon from the Apollo 11 moon landing. Obviously it's reversed. Again, here we have the 12 moons, but if you look closely, they start to rise in a spiral. Now this is probably the most important part of the music video in terms of the lore, because you can see towards the left hand side of the screen there's a little streak of light. Now at first glance it's very hard to tell what that actually is, but if you look closely enough and have a pretty decent resolution screen, you can tell that that is actually an airplane. Now, where is the only airplane to be featured in any of Luna's music videos? Of course, that would be the airplane that was in Hasa's music video, Let Me In. This means that this crashing airplane in the Why Not music video is the same crashed airplane that we see in Hasa's Let Me In. And of course, it's the same one that was in the X2X butterfly teaser, where Go-On finds a white feather, and perhaps that is the same white feather that we see burned and then reversed at the end of the So What music video. And of course, shows the butterfly. And Hyunjin without a shoe. But yeah, that was my full analysis throughout the entire Luniverse for Luna's Why Not music video. If I missed anything here, do let me know in the comments. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you next one. Later.